Okay, think about this for a second. You have this tiny, seemingly lifeless speck,
Right.
and somehow inside that speck is everything needed to become, I don't know, a giant redwood tree
Uh-huh.
or, a
Or
sunflower.
even just the lettuce in your salad. It's everywhere.
It happens all the time, but it's actually, well, miraculous when you stop and consider it.
It really is. And that whole incredible journey, that unfolding of life, it all starts inside the seed. Such a compact little package.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today. We've looked at some really great material that walks you through step by step how a seed goes from being planted to becoming a full plant.
Yeah, the sources break it down really nicely.
Our goal here is just to unpack that process, understand the key moments, and maybe appreciate this everyday thing a bit more.
And it's worth remembering the sheer variety. The sources mention tiny sesame seeds, then you've got coconuts on the other end of the scale.
Huge difference.
Massive. But fundamentally, they all have the same basic toolkit inside and follow a similar path.
Okay, so let's start right there. Let's crack open that seed metaphorically. What's actually inside? What makes it all work?
The absolute core is the embryo. That's the baby plant, really, just waiting.
Okay.
Then it's got its own packed lunch, the food reserves, energy to get started, and crucially, as the sources point out, it's wrapped in a seed coat.
Protection.
Exactly. Protection from drying out, from damage, you name it.
Right, like a little survival pod. And what really gets me is this dormancy idea. It's not dead, it's just paused, waiting.
It's in stasis, waiting for the right cues.
Why do that? What's the point of just sitting there?
Oh, it's a brilliant strategy, evolutionarily speaking. It lets the seed wait out bad conditions. Think harsh winters, droughts, whatever.
Oh.
It just waits until things are better, improving its chances of actually sprouting and surviving. It ensures the species carries on.
Makes sense. Which leads us neatly to germination, the wake-up call.
The big moment.
So what does it take? What are the non-negotiables to get that seed to, well, stop waiting and start growing?
The sources are really clear on this. 3 things are absolutely key: water, warmth, and air. Oxygen, specifically.
Okay, water, warmth, air. Let's take water first. It obviously softens that outer shell, right?
It does, but it does much more internally, too. It rehydrates everything inside, all the dormant tissues, wakes them up.
Like flipping a switch?
Kind of, yeah. It triggers all these biochemical reactions. It basically tells the seed, okay, time to use that packed lunch and grow.
Got it. And then the first thing you actually see happening is that little root pushing downwards.
That's the radical, the first root.
Why down? What's the immediate goal there?
2 main things. First, stability. It needs to anchor itself in the soil, even as a tiny seedling.
Right, so it doesn't just wash away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And second, it immediately starts seeking out more water and nutrients from the soil, establishing that lifeline.
Okay, so while the radical is heading down, this other part, the shoot, the plumule, you call it,
The plumule.
that starts heading up towards the light. Why is that upward journey so vital?
Well, it's basically a race. It needs to break through the soil surface and get its first leaves into the sunlight as quickly as possible.
Why the rush for sunlight?
Because that's where photosynthesis happens. Once those first tiny leaves unfurl, the plant can start making its own food.
Okay. The seedling stage.
Yeah.
So when we see that little green sprout pop up, that's a huge milestone.
It's a massive transition. It's moving away from relying just on those stored food reserves in the seed.
It's becoming independent.
Precisely. It's becoming autotrophic self-feeding, using sunlight, water, carbon dioxide, and that magic ingredient, chlorophyll, in its leaves.
To make sugars. Energy.
Exactly. It's graduating, you could say,
How-
from its packed lunch to running its own solar-powered kitchen.
I like that. A solar-powered kitchen. So it's gone from dependent to independent. That's amazing for such a tiny thing.
It really is.
And then we get into what we just generally call growth. But it's obviously more than just getting taller, isn't it?
Oh, much more. While the shoot is growing up, the root system is expanding downwards and outwards, getting stronger, reaching further for water and nutrients.
So building a better foundation.
Right. And the stem gets thicker, stronger, providing support, and more leaves appear, which means...
More solar panels. More photosynthesis.
You got it. Maximizing that energy production.
And plants grow in such different ways, don't they? Some go straight up, some spread out, some climb. Then flowers, fruits.
So much diversity in form. But the underlying engine is the same.
Sunlight and soil nutrients.
Primarily, yes.
Yeah.
Fueled by photosynthesis, pulling in minerals from the soil, and water remains absolutely critical through all of this.
How so? Still transporting things?
Yes, transporting nutrients up from the roots, sugars down from the leaves, also helps cool the plant, and it keeps the cells firm, turgor pressure. That's what stops plants from wilting.
Right. Keeps them standing tall. And eventually, all this growth leads to maturity. What does that mean for a plant? Is it just reaching full size?
Not necessarily just size. Maturity really means it's ready to reproduce, ready to make the next generation.
Which often involves flowers.
Often, yes. For many plants, the flower is the dedicated reproductive structure.
Okay, let's talk flowers. They can be pretty complex. What are the key parts we need to know about for reproduction?
Well, typically you have the male part, the stamen. Its job is to produce pollen. Those tiny grains carry the male genetic info.
Okay.
And then you have the female part, the pistil. Deep inside that is the ovary, where the female cells are and where the seeds will eventually form if fertilization happens.
Fertilization requires pollination first, right? Getting the pollen from A to B.
Correct. Pollen needs to get from the stamen to the pistil.
And nature has some clever ways of doing that, doesn't it? It's not always straightforward.
Not at all. It can be passive, like wind just blowing the pollen around.
Yeah.
Think grasses or pine trees.
Sure.
Or, very often it involves active helpers. Pollinators, bees, butterflies, birds, bats even, attracted by the flower's color, scent, or a nectar reward. It's this amazing interaction.
A collaboration almost.
Definitely.
And if that pollen transfer works, if pollination is successful, then what?
Then fertilization can occur inside the ovary. The male genetic material fuses with the female ovule, and that starts the development of the embryo, the tiny plant inside the new seed.
And often the flower parts around it change too, into the fruit.
Exactly. The ovary wall and sometimes other parts swell up to become the fruit. That protects the developing seeds and, crucially, often helps them get dispersed later on.
Ah, so the fruit helps spread the seeds.
Right. Think of animals eating the fruit and carrying the seeds elsewhere, or fruits that float or have hooks or wings,
Yeah.
all for dispersal.
It's a whole cycle, isn't it? Seed, growth, reproduction, new seeds.
A continuous loop, and seeing it in action helps. The sources give a couple of good examples. The tomato plant, for instance.
Oh yeah, everyone knows tomatoes.
Right. You start that tiny seed, then you see the little sprout, the leaves forming very distinctive tomato leaves, then those little yellow flowers pop up,
And then the green tomatoes appear.
which eventually ripen, and inside, hundreds of seeds potentially ready to go again. It's the whole cycle right there in your garden or on your windowsill.
That's a great visible example. And the other one mentioned is the sunflower.
Ah, the sunflower. Famous for following the sun, right? Heliotropism,
Yeah, turning its head.
which is all about maximizing sunlight for photosynthesis, fueling its really rapid growth. Sunflowers get big fast.
And they produce that huge flower head packed with seeds.
Hundreds, sometimes thousands of seeds in a single head. Again, a massive reproductive effort.
It really drives home the point. Whether it's a tomato or a sunflower, they all come from that tiny starting point, following these same basic steps.
The same fundamental processes.
So maybe we should just quickly recap those key stages. Just list them out.
Good idea. So as the sources lay it out, you start with the seed, then comes germination.
Waking up.
Right, followed by the seedling stage, the little plant establishing itself.
Making its own food.
Then the main phase of growth and maturity, getting bigger, stronger, ready to reproduce, which leads to flowering in many plants.
And finally,
Pollination and seed formation, creating the next generation, completing the cycle.
it's a cycle playing out constantly everywhere. Deserts, forests, gardens, cracks in the pavement.
Absolutely. In countless forms, all adapted to their specific environments. It's easy to just walk past it, but it's happening all the time.
And the resilience is amazing.
Incredible resilience and adaptability built into that cycle.
Now, we also pulled out some fun facts, little bits of trivia that are just, wow.
Yeah, some quite surprising things.
Like the biggest seed in the world, the coco de mer.
I know.
How big did you say?
It can weigh up to 30 kilograms?
30 kilos. That's heavier than a toddler for one seed.
It's astonishing, really shows the extremes in nature.
And then there's the opposite end, longevity. Seeds staying dormant for hundreds of years.
Yeah, there are documented cases, seeds found in archaeological sites that were still viable, hundreds, even thousands of years old in some cases, though that's rarer.
Just waiting. Patiently.
Incredible durability. That dormancy really works as a long-term survival plan.
And phototropism, we mentioned the sunflower. Plants literally bending towards the light. How do they know?
Well, it's not knowing like we do, but they have specialized cells that detect light. It triggers hormones that make the cells on the shady side grow faster.
Ah, so it pushes the stem towards the light. Clever.
Very effective for maximizing their energy capture.
And this last one is wild. Some seeds actually need fire to germinate.
Yeah, it seems destructive, but for some plants, especially in fire-prone ecosystems, it's a crucial trigger.
How?
The heat might crack the hard seed coat, or chemicals in the smoke signal that it's time to grow. Plus, the fire clears out competitors.
So the fire creates the perfect opportunity for them. Regeneration.
Exactly. A remarkable adaptation to their environment.
So really, the next time you see a plant, any plant, big or small,
Pause for a second.
yeah, just think about that incredible journey it took, all starting from potentially a really tiny seed.
That little package holds everything. The blueprint, the initial energy, the potential for all that complex growth.
It's the ultimate instruction manual for life, isn't it? Contained right there.
It really makes you appreciate the sheer ingenuity of nature.
Absolutely. A tiny seed holding a whole world of potential, just waiting for its moment. Makes you wonder what other secrets are locked away in seeds we haven't even looked at closely yet.